Before I even start out, I want to point out that yes, I did see the update that happened, I suppose, yesterday about the changes from Unheard that are going to apply to EOD. I stuck that at the very end just because the flow worked that way. But yes, I'm aware of it. And if you listen to the video at the end, you'll hear my thoughts on that. And just to point out before we start, in the live version, I don't actually say what all this is about, but this is about a update to Escape from Tarkov that dropped about 4 days ago. And I've been following this, and we're going to sort of do a sort of a post-mortem, I guess, of all the stuff that's been happening over the last 5 days in terms of their update and the thing that they did. So watch along. I just wanted to make sure no one was confused about what this was actually about. I think this is going to be the laziest thing I've ever done, but I don't have the time to do anything else. I think this is the only way I can do this. So you're going to hear birds, and I'm not going to be too collected here. I guess for people who don't know the context, they had the Escape from Darkness edition, which I bought 2 of, I think. Yeah, they had the EOD edition a while back. I don't think you can still buy it. People who had it still have it. Initially, they had promised to give out basically all the DLC in the future for free. You got a bunch of cool stuff in your stash to begin with. And I think you got some rep bonuses with some of the traders and some money, a bigger stash, the Gamma container, which was meant to be sort of like a unique thing that you got, and it was limited time only. And, you know, you could sort of show it off in your inventory and say, yeah, I was one of the guys who supported this game, man. My name's on the wall, man. So they did that, and that was close enough to the game's initial release. And they decided to cancel it, I think. And the reasoning, as far as I remember, was that they didn't want anything that had given some... They didn't want anything that gave people a huge advantage or seemed like they had... You know, they didn't want to have like a $150 copy of the game. It had sort of a weird taste to it. And I think that they were saying that they wanted to move towards like a 1.0 release, and the EOD edition didn't really fit with that. It was more supposed to be like a support thing for them. Like, the thing that Battlestate had going for them was community support. Like, they've ridden on that for like almost a decade now. People love Tarkov and they like Battlestate, and then, you know, they started pissing it away a little bit at a time, and they had gotten rid of the Escape from Darkness edition and said, well, we're going to replace it with an even cooler edition, so keep your eyes out. So this is the even cooler edition, the Unheard version. Guess how much it is? $250. Like, you've probably already bought Tarkov. Or if you were thinking about it, if you're like, I don't know about Tarkov, I've heard some things about it, this is not going to be the version you opt in on. Like, yeah, no, I know that this game will probably chew me up and spit me out. I'll buy the most expensive version so that my buyer's remorse can be as high as possible when I eventually quit in disgust. Gets better, though. What they added with the Unheard edition. Let's see if I can remember off the top of my head. To start out with, you get more stuff in your stash. So you get even cooler guns, some pretty decent ammo, some pretty top tier ammo, stuff that given the new rebalances, you wouldn't be able to find on the traders, and you wouldn't be able to get in the flea market until like level 15. You basically have access to some fairly decent ammunition right off the bat, which makes a big difference. That's one of the big things in Tarkov. If you be able to kill other players, particularly, is good ammunition, stuff that has high penetration, or stuff that does massive, or stuff that just does a lot of flesh damage, is really good. Very meta stuff you want. So you have that. The first really good perk. Okay, so my last Tarkov video was about single player Tarkov. And I was saying, they should add this. Oh man, I'd pay more money. I'd pay more money to play Tarkov against single player, man, because all this crap that the game has is just not fun, man. And then they're like, yeah, okay, how much are you willing to pay? Not $250. So with the Unheard edition, you get access to their PvE mode, which is persistent. It'll never wipe, and I guess you can play co-op, I'm assuming only with people who have the Unheard, but I don't know how that actually shakes out. That's the only way you can play PvE in Tarkov. The only way you can play PvE at this point is by spending $250, or by going and getting single player Tarkov basically for free after you purchase the main game. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? So why would you do that? Unless you wanted to play with your friends, I guess. And there's still, I think, mods for SPT that lets you do that. There was a chat, or what was meant to be a future interview, that was leaked by, I guess, somebody who was an emissary, somebody who was in the closer community to Battlestate. And during that interview, and it was fairly short, and the answers were given were very terse. Like basically, yes, no, we're thinking about it, no, go away, that kind of thing. They said we wouldn't have the resources to run PvE servers for everyone. So this is the only thing that makes sense for us right now. And that doesn't quite, that may be a reasonable response. That may be a reasonable reason to not have PvE for everybody. But there's a couple things with that. One, I know that they want to have servers on their end so that people don't cheat when you're playing the PvE. But, as you see with single player Tarkov, I don't think it matters. If you want to cheat in your PvE game, you go right ahead. You're not ruining anyone's experience except for potentially your own. I don't really see the huge need to have online servers to make sure everyone's everyone's client is dotting their I's and crossing their T's. I don't see the reason for that, or a big, scary, legitimate reason for that. I guess one thing you could say is that it would toxify their vision of the game, the almighty vision of the game that they have, which they basically ruined with the Unknown pack. So, Mark of the Unheard, you get faster insured equipment returns, 50% discount when using cash services and raids. So I guess the extracts, those don't actually cost that much, so that's fine. And then scabs won't shoot first at distance if you have a high fence reputation, which you start out with a higher one for this $250 packet anyway. So that's great. So a little pay to win item there. And the best one, distress signal device. When you activate it, I guess it beeps and it makes the big flash. And then everyone on your friends list says, ooh, streamer bro is in trouble. I need to save him. A settlement is in danger. Vroom! We just call it the Preston device, right? So just call it the Preston Garvey device, and you do vroom all the way. All your friends can join in. Someone said join in as scabs. That would be the most fair way to implement this if you were going to do it. Just have them have random, possibly shit equipment. But they don't say that, so your friends can just say, "Oh no, you're cornered. Let me help my friend who spent $250 so that they can have their gang, their boys, come in and bop them. They're always with you. Give them a bop." So what I wanted to see, what I said, oh, you know what would be great is if you had like a 4-stack and everyone has this. So that's $1,000 to BSG. That's a whole $1,000 entering a server at once. And then they all click the clicker the second you come in, right? So how many friends can you invite? How many people in the server can you do at once? Could you insta crash a server? Because their servers they're not doing great already. So imagine adding an in-game item that could increase the server population. Potentially, I mean, if you had 2 people and they were able to invite 3 people each, you could potentially increase the server population by like 50% instantly. You thought grenades were bad for lag. Oh no. And you're going to know when it happens too. Like everything's going to slow to a crawl. Be like, ah, shit, somebody activated a Preston. Somebody hit a Preston. And you're like, okay, we better extract because somebody invited their whole friends list because they paid $250 to BSG to oh God. Yeah, like I said, Battle State, the one of the reasons that Tarkov has done as well as it has is because they had good community relations, at least at first. And I say that knowing that, like, at least for the last 2 or 3 years, it's actually been pretty on the fence. And people have quit because Nikita said something, or they did something goofy with balance that some people didn't like, or it was a slow thing. Oh, Tarkov's never going to come out. Why am I still playing this? Stuff like that. But this is too far. This is like a scumbag EA move. So this is a move that someone like EA could get away with because they have a largely normie audience, and they can just drop like, oh yeah, if you want to, you get the super pink helmet edition to support the breast cancer research or whatever, and then you'll spend $500 or something like that. Just get as many whales as possible. And who's going to buy this is streamers. And people have already complained about them catering to the sort of sweaty streamers for a long time. This is more of that. This is more of that. What casual player of the game? Well, there are no casual players, Tarkov, you idiot. But there are. There's people like me who like play a little bit every so often. Are like, oh yeah, that's, I play this. I remember why I played, and I remember why I stopped. Because this is hard, and it's a grind, and it's, I don't have the time for this. So there are casual players, and they also give you money. And if you have like 10 casual players and one guy who buys this, maybe it balances out. But your community support's going to go to shit. That was another cool thing about BSG, was that they definitely had that indie cred. They were like, oh yeah, we're just a small game company in Eastern Europe who's making a janky game, and if you like it, give us some money. And we were like, yeah, man, we do like it. We love indie developers. We love janky Eastern European devs. Let's go. Let's do it. This feels like a move. I was going to say that. This feels like a move that EA would do, that EA or Ubisoft would pull, and they would get flack for it. Even as a AAA company who's making, what nominally is a finished game, they would get away with this. This is a bad thing to do at a bad time to do it. So the conspiracy theory, which sounds pretty legit, is that BSG lost their shirts on Arena. It did not sell as they expected it to sell for whatever reason, and they pumped a lot of money into marketing it, and I think they pumped a lot of their regular resources, the resources they would be spending on just updating Tarkov, put a lot of those resources into that. So that may have been a wash. That was a wash. I didn't really hear anybody talking about how they liked Arena. I don't think anyone really liked Arena. I think Arena was a fairly negative experience for most people for a lot of reasons. So it didn't do good. So they need money. They needed money before Arena. That's maybe one reason why they did Arena, was because they were actually struggling with funds before Arena. So this feels a lot like a cash grab of some kind, like they're trying to monetize their community and say, hey, here's all this cool stuff you could get. That in and of itself, the motivation is not a bad thing. Video game companies have monetary problems all the time, and it's up to them on how to solve them. Particularly when you're making a game that's a one-time buy-in and you have persistent servers and persistent overhead to deal with, and you're developing that game for like 4 to 6 years. That I could definitely see where that becomes a financial problem. This is not the right way to do it. Because it pisses people off. And I don't think it's approachable to the people you're trying to get into the community. So come at this from a couple different angles. Let's come at this from not my perspective, someone who is deeply invested in Tarkov. They bought EOD, maybe they bought EOD for their friends, and they've been playing nonstop for a long, long time, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 hours, whatever that is. over the last multiple years, almost a decade. I think this pisses them off because you can basically buy a bunch of stuff that absolutely will give you an advantage. And all that skill that you spent time accruing will mean less because you can call a 4-stack in or whatever the number is. It's not implemented yet, so we don't know what this looks like. But calling your friends into the match and having no aggro from scavs, that's a huge advantage. That's not just like, oh, you've got a better gun. If you can make hits, then you can kill me. It's like, no, I'm just gonna outnumber you by pressing a button. Presumably, assuming they can load in fast enough. If they have the Unheard, they can load in even faster because there's a premium queue. Why not fix the queues? Why not fix all of these problems with the game instead of buying to work around them? And that's the other thing. That's the other thing about some of these things feel like you are paying them to fix a legitimate problem in the game. So like the faster server queue thing. Why not just make it so that your server queues are faster? I know that that's just saying, why not make it so that the roads never break? Why not make it so that I don't have to pay taxes? I know that sounds like, but legitimately, that's been one of the biggest problems in the game for a very long time, is their server quality and their netcode. And to make people pay, not just a small amount of money, right? And maybe if it was like, I thought about this initially and I said, this makes me feel like a subscription model would almost have worked better in this scenario where you get people to pay for a premium queue. Pay us $5 a month for premium server access. That'll pay us, we'll get a little bit off the top, but you will literally just pay for better servers for us so that we can, give you this game faster. I'd see people paying that. And I wouldn't see an outrage to it because it's like, yeah, I understand it. I understand, you guys have, maybe you have crap servers. Maybe servers are expensive or whatever it is. Just pay a little bit extra money and you get better server speed. But then there's like, people complain about scavs having weird AI. Well, you could just turn them off now. Just turn scavs off. Yeah, we would really love a PvE mode, and I don't care if it's online. Yeah, well, okay, yes, you'll get it, but you'll pay out the nose through it. We're going to give you the things that we're going to fix the game. We're going to give you the things that you always wanted, but it's going to be behind a massive paywall. And it really is actually quite a lot of money. That actually is quite a lot of money. $250 is huge. I think there's a ton of ways they could have softened the blow here. Day one, people were saying you could have done cosmetics. You could have done glove cosmetics. And glove cosmetics or tattoos or something on your arms that you're going to see all the time. Yeah, you could have done glove cosmetics at like $5, $10 a pop and made more money than this. And I agree with that sentiment. I think you actually could have. And there would not have been this. You would have not have had this massive backlash. And there is a cosmetic in the unknown. There's this knife thing, which I heard, and it's unconfirmed. It's like a Unity asset flip. So yeah, the blow on this could have been softened a massive, massive amount. Maybe they know all of this. Maybe they know everything that I've said, and this is just desperation. It's pure, like, we do this or we shut down. That would suck. That would really suck. If this was, if they knew that, they had a gun to their head and they're like, well, I guess we got to do this. I guess we've got to do the thing that we said we would never do. And just, that or die. It's do or die. It's disappointing. The memes are great though. The memes off of this are just glorious. How do we socially ostracize anyone who actually buys this? Oh my gosh. Just a way to absolutely trash your community in like 48 hours. It was so fast. Like, it's so fast. It seems like pretty much everyone's on the same page on this, and it's not good. And this interview that leaked, this apparent interview that apparently leaked, allegedly. They were, Nikita had apparently basically said, let them kick rocks. If they don't like it, leave. It's not exactly the right thing to say. You don't, because people can leave. It's like, why even talk about it? There's a whole bunch of questions that you don't even need to ask. Why did you do this? What made you think this was a good idea? Who are you planning on having support this? Who do you think in the community is going to think this is cool? Like, these are all questions everyone knows you don't know the answer to. Like, no one, and not. 2 days ago, pretty much everything is normal. They spent a lot of money. People are pointing this out here. They spent a lot of money on a TV series for YouTube and in real life events. And if they hadn't have done those things, they might have the money to keep things going for Tarkov. I mean, if this doesn't work, and I don't think this is going to work for them. I don't think it's going to. How many whales do they need to? Need probably, for a company the size of BSG, you probably need about, I don't know, 3 to 5 million a year to keep it running. Yes, thank you. You probably need about $3 to $5 million to keep a company the size of BSG running every year. So how many whales need to purchase this year to keep this going? 4 whales? No. They'd need 16,000 whales. Run the math on that. How many whales would you need to keep a company, in my fuzzy morning math, to keep a company the size of BSG running for a year? 16,000 whales. How many people are playing the game? There's 32,000 members in the subreddit. So if half of the people who hate this whaled up, they could make it. And if all of them did it, they could make it for 2 years, assuming they don't, spend another couple $1 million on in IRL events, So, so yeah, they need to significantly increase their user base, or get people who are already there to buy the game again. Which at this point, why would you do that? Because this is like people, most of the people who've been playing for 6 years, they're a little tired of playing, and they're not going to spend $250 and a karambit, a special knife. They better start selling skins for those knives. Yeah. And a unique armband so everyone can tell that you are a whale. Oh, I just killed a whale, bro. Yeah, I actually don't have an extension to see the number of dislikes. But 22 hours ago, there's like 17,000 dislikes for 4,000 likes. And there's now 5.5 thousand likes. Who liked this? Who liked this? Okay, so what we say, 16,000 to run at BSG for a year? So this is a third. If everyone who liked this YouTube video buys this, that's a third of the money they would need to run the company for a year. And that may be an incorrect assessment, but I think $3 million is about as much as you need to run a small to medium sized company. Even in Eastern Europe, I don't know where they're running it out of. That is loud. Gosh, yeah. Okay, the birds are waking up. It's time to get out of here. Yeah, but I mean, the goodwill you're losing off of this is I mean, companies pay millions of dollars to get goodwill, and they are losing it rapidly. So yeah, Tarkov already has a huge number of competitors. People really like the format, and so you have a whole bunch of people making their own Tarkovs. So what are you going to do when their Tarkovs are better than your Tarkov and you've lost all of your goodwill? It's disappointing. Yeah, it's just disappointing. $1 for, I'm bleeding out. I gotta bleed. Oh, but I could put my credit card information in and get a bandage. Ooh, that's the next logical step. The game was actually doing very well. they had actually added a whole bunch of really cool stuff that people, just in an update, in the most recent update. And then in the previous update, they changed recoil so it wasn't crazy like it was before. And I guess they changed inertia a little bit. And they're making a bunch of changes in the game that people really wanted for a while. So, you know, was that to soften the blow? You could have had a moment where people were like, oh my God, yes, I want this so much. And yes, I'll pay for a premium server slot. $5 a month, I'll pay that. You know, if you play Tarkov as your main game, let's say, you know, you've got a budget, you budget for yourself and you budget $25, $30 a month for video games. I do. And yeah, you could, if you're playing Tarkov a majority of the time, you could put $5 a month down on Tarkov. Absolutely. And then buy skins. And people be saying the Tarkov is better than ever and I'm going to support them with this money. But no, they say, you know what? We're going to basically drastically change the balance of the game. I could see where you could make the argument where Tarkov is meant to not have a balance. You're meant to go into the match knowing that either, you know, that the balance is going to be wildly unfair 20% of the time. Like 80%, you know, you're against another solo guy. You're solo, he's solo. You have comparable equipment. You get into a gunfight. Those are the fun gunfights. Those are the gunfights that you like. And then 20% of the time, it's like you absolutely curb stomp the guy, or you run into like a duo or a trio and they all have, you know, slicks and shit. And they just blow you out of the water. And yeah, those are the ones that aren't as, you throw your hands up. You're like, well, I didn't deserve that. Either way, in that scenario, you're like, I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to die. I didn't deserve to win. I didn't deserve that, because that's the way that the realism works. But in order to have a functioning video game, you still need to have some kind of semblance of fairness. I don't know. And I feel like maybe the whole calling your friends in thing is going to be really rare and you really won't see it because, again, they're going to have to load in. You know how long it takes to load on Tarkov servers? They're not going to be able to join you instantly. You know, that's not going to happen. Fuck that. That's not going to happen. And you keep going, you keep playing. But now there's an even higher chance that there's going to be somebody who just won't have scav aggros on them, and they might be able to call their friends in, and they already have some amazing equipment, and they'll have their little bent knife, their little bendy knife, and that's, whoa, you don't want to mess with that. That looks sharp. Oh, the other thing. So Edge of Darkness, there was that whole clause in there. Not a clause, really. It's not... I think it was an offer, not necessarily a contract, but it's the same thing when it comes to advertising your product, where you say you're going to get access to all the DLC coming down the pipe in the future, no exceptions. And that has been true for pretty much all of their updates except for this one. Edge of Darkness was meant to have all of these little things attached to it, and Arena was attached to Edge of Darkness. If you had Edge of Darkness, you didn't have to pay for Arena. I didn't have to pay for Arena. I didn't play it, but I didn't have to pay for it. So that's great. So why not this? And then apparently they were changing the wording on the original page. They were changing the wording on the EOD version. I guess, I'm not sure how you would go back and access that. How you would access the Escape from Darkness store page now, because I thought that they had removed it from the website. But they were changing details after the fact, like 2 or 3 days ago on the website. So it all lines up with this new pack. And that's, you could arguably take them to court. I think you could arguably take them to court in the United States. And I know the EU has even stronger laws around how you can advertise your product or service and what you have to do so it's not a bait and switch. And I think that they could actually legitimately face legal consequences. If you take them to court and you say, listen, they changed the old contract. They did a switcheroo. That's a bait and switch. That's provably a bait and switch. So yeah, I think that they could, if people wanted to sue them, they could sue them. And that's bad. Don't do that. That's why, if you add cosmetics and and a little subscription fee, that doesn't hurt you in court. So they could get sued. And this could actually destroy the game. Ultimately, people are really, 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 really pissed off about this. I loved Tarkov. I loved what they were doing with it, and I really wanted to see it succeed. That's why I got so sad. Because like at first it was like, oh my God, are they really doing this? It's a couple weeks late, fellas. You know? And then you just get sad. Because you're like, man, I really wanted this to work. And I feel like this could destroy them. This could legitimately destroy Tarkov. They did all of this stuff to avoid changing the game for a vision of the game that they are now changing, and it doesn't seem like they care. And we're getting, you're asking, is there any way you're going to change this back, man? We hate this. Everyone hates this. Can you stop? Please stop. And they say, no, we know what you're doing. And if you don't like it, get off the bus. You're not welcome here. Okay. It's a majority of people. So a lot of people just aren't going to play your game. Is that on purpose? Are you trying to reduce server loads or something? Like, you're not going to have a future. This company won't have a future going forward if you do that. So, the question is, why are they doing it in this way? Their previous, what they've said about stuff like this previously indicates to me that they know that this would fracture and destroy their community relations. So why do it now? Why do it? Are they in that bad of financial straits that they're willing to hazard lawsuits and the community hating them and no one buying their game and their name being mud at the very moment that multiple extraction shooters are now releasing that are trying to be Tarkov killers? This is the worst time to do this kind of thing. If you're trying to be the OG, be the, oh yeah, you can always come back to Tarkov, man. That's always cool. Not anymore though. I don't know if I'm going to be playing Tarkov. I'll play SBT. I bought 2 copies. I got a couple copies of VOD for a couple people because I was like, play Tarkov with me. And then they didn't, because Tarkov is crazy hard. And I wasn't sad because I knew that would happen. But, if they were to play, if those people were to still play, they would be missing out on all this stuff that they were supposedly supposed to get. What the fuck, man? So this could actually destroy them. That was fast, wasn't it? I had a conversation with somebody or a group of people as to whether you could destroy like the goodwill of like a decade in 24 hours. And God, I think you can. My examples were like Battlestar Galactica. The last like 2 or 3 episodes were insane and totally, ripped the continuity out. And Mass Effect, that was another good one where Mass Effect's ending absolutely pissed people off. They recovered from that, maybe, but then, BioWare did a bunch of stuff after that wasn't so great. So I don't know. People don't like BioWare anymore. So yeah, I think you can. I think you can destroy your shit in a day. Wow. Damn. That's sad. That's sad, man. That's really sad. The emotional impact of hearing this is unsettling. It is sad. It is depressing, particularly in 2024, in current year, where it feels like all of the institutions that we relied on are rapidly failing. You don't have a financial leg to stand on. You don't have, a cultural leg to stand on. You go out into the world and people are paranoid and bitter and angry and not everywhere, not everybody, but more so than before. And now Tarkov's dead. Shit. That's sad. That's really sad. So I'm not going to be buying the Unknown Edition. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to do that. $250? No, thank you. That's 1.5 down payments on my reasonable vehicle, my car. That's a down payment. That's a payment and a half. I'm sorry, I can't give you $250. That's not going to happen for a version of a game I already own. No, it won't happen. I'm sorry. Hey, good luck. Hey, is it weird that, it sounds like you're talking to somebody who's ringing the bell on the corner? Oh man, sorry, I don't have any money with me right now. I wish I could. I can't. Don't got the cash. Sorry. I actually do, but I'm not going to give it to you. Edit James here. I tried to finish this video last night, but there was an update, so I feel like I do have to point this out. Nikita came in on Reddit, I guess, and said a couple things about the Unheard version. So initially, the first damage control move was to give Escape from Darkness owners 6 months with PvE. And now it looks like this is extending that to just forever, but they're going to do it in waves because they don't have the server capacity. I think this changes the calculus a little bit. It doesn't change the fact that they tried to retroactively change the wording on EOD so that it looked like it never gave you the things that we know that it should have given you. So I think this does help change the calculus a little bit, but I don't think it changes the fact that people are still stupid pissed off. I think it's speculation as to whether he did or did not know or understand that this was going to have a big impact. I don't see how he couldn't have known that. I just don't see that. You would have to be incredibly naive to not figure that people would be pissed off by this. So they're not getting rid of Unheard. They say they're going to balance things. This is fairly vague. They're going to have PvE access for people who bought Edge of Darkness, and they're going to add mod support for that PvE. But as this reads, it still means that if you're coming into the game new, if you're a more casual player, and you want to play PvE, you still have to pay $250. That's not good enough. I mean, just given the verbiage that they're using in public communication and then apparently some of the stuff in private, I think that they figured this would cause a little bit of outrage, but then it would blow over and people would fall in line. And they would just sort of be cool with it because where else are they going to go? I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. Thanks for sticking with me through this one. I don't speak extemporaneously too often, but I needed to get something out about this. It seemed like something you could just do very short and you don't need a lot of visuals for. So I have a Pal World video coming up. That one's going to be more edited. So if you want to, visual jokes and all that, that one's going to have those. Yeah, leave a comment as to whether you're going to play Tarkov or buy the 250. I would love to hear from some people. Maybe legitimately, like, what is the mindset? Not to call you a whale, but what is your mindset in terms of picking this up, and why aren't you mad? Because there's a lot of people who will forgive AAA companies when they do this kind of thing over and over again. And I think the reason they're not mad is that they're not actually that invested in it. And it's like, oh yeah, Call of Duty is really fun, but I didn't buy a whole machine to play it. Maybe they did. That's why I'm curious. If you are in the mindset that you're like, yeah, this is cool, I'll buy it, or this doesn't piss me off too bad, it seems decent, I'll buy it. What is your mindset? Why doesn't this piss you off? I'm legitimately curious, because it rubs me the wrong way in pretty much every dimension. So I'm curious to hear somebody's position on why it doesn't rub them the wrong direction. And if BSG has a point, maybe they're right. That would be the twist. That'd be the twist of the decade, wouldn't it? BSG does this, but they were right. Welcome to the 2020s, everybody.